Hello and welcome back to another video. So what we have here today is a DualShock 3. Model number is CECH ZC2U. So this is actually an earlier DualShock 3 model. Now I bought this from a collector, I guess about a year ago, and I got a really good price on it. I think I paid like $5 or $10 or something like that. I really don't remember, but I got it at a good price because of the damage to it. It does work. I do remember it does work, but the D-pad doesn't feel quite right. The rest of the buttons actually feel pretty good, and obviously the left thumbstick doesn't have the rubber on it anymore, which not a big deal. And then the other thing is too, it's definitely, like I said, very well used because even the paint's coming off in the usual places you would expect, a couple scratches here and there. But overall, it's in pretty good shape, and I think that this thing could be salvaged and be a very good working controller. And fortunately for me, I still have a bag of parts from an old controller of mine, so I'll be able to replace the contact pads, the thumbsticks, pretty much everything I need to get this up and working again. And I do have a new battery too I am going to replace the original one with. And if you're opening these up, especially right now in 2022, the battery is going to be pretty bad. So it's worth a few bucks to just get a new battery and put a new one in while you're at it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So without further ado, let's get cracking. All right, so let's start by getting these screws out. It's going to be 5 on the back. Let's see if I can get this open without making an ass out of myself. Alright, and you just kind of lift the shell up. Sometimes these will pop off. It's not a big deal. I mean, especially right now since we're completely taking this whole thing apart right at the moment, so. Yeah, I mean, inside doesn't look too bad so far. We will remove battery, since this isn't staying in here anyway. So just toss that aside, that'll be thrown out. Alright, next we gotta remove this screw here to get the whole chassis to come out. Not sure if that came up on camera, but I gotta remember I need to shut my air conditioner off when I film. Okay, now this whole thing should slide out. Yep, there we go. These feel kind of springy still out of it. I don't see any physical damage. But I'm still going to replace all the contact pads with the one from the other controller. The other controller broke probably about a year or two of me having it, so I know that everything in there, for the most part, should still be good, or at least the components. Yeah, the inside shell here is pretty dirty. Alright, so the next thing we gotta do, we do have to take this out. It should just slide out. Keyword should. There we go. Now we gotta remove the trigger buttons. So these should just pop right out. Yep. It's actually easier to do this while it's still in the chassis, but it is what it is. Just take those contact pads out. Like I said, they're getting tossed anyway. All right, so now that we have the pile of parts, let's head over to the sink and get this all cleaned up. Silly me getting a little too ahead of myself. I forgot to take out the reset button. Alright, we'll start off with the shills. And going around the ridges can be kind of tedious to get all that gunk off there. Man, I'm having trouble getting the schmutz out of the one in here. Just doesn't want to come out. Oops. Freaking Butterfingers over here. I did forget to do one other step. So we do have to get the spring off, because if we get this wet, it does have the potential to rust. So basically how you do it, and now do this gently because I lost the spring on the other one. It took me a while to find it. But you're gonna grab it here, down here. Hi, Maya. I'm trying to show people how to take triggers off. And then you're going to grab over by the spring here, and you're just going to gently pull. It'll go eventually, but it might be a little stuck. And you just remove the spring, and that's it. My trusty director's been checking up on my work all night. Hi, Maya. Maya.
Hi. Hi.
This can be a great addition to my collection once it's back together. I'm excited. Alright, everything's now laying out to dry. We'll just let this sit overnight, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll put this all back together. And welcome back. We're here the next day. Everything's clean and dry, so we're ready to put this all back together. So first things first, what I want to do is we'll remove these old thumbsticks. This one's actually not in too bad a shape. I mean, it's definitely worn out a little bit, but I think I'm going to hold on to that one as a spare in case I get another console in, or a controller in. And there's a little bit of dust, so we'll just kind of blow it off. As I blow everything all over the place. Alright, so I mean, this all looks pretty clean, but I think we'll just spritz it down a little bit with some rubbing alcohol. Alright, so I went into the bag to pull out the spare parts for the controller. I noticed that the thumbsticks were actually a little sticky. So, kind of see, I can just pick it up with my thumb. It's just completely stuck to it, and now my finger is a little sticky. But I've read some conflicting things on why this happens on various forums. A lot of people say that it's the rubber breaking down. That's actually not exactly true. It's actually kind of gross reason why it's doing that. So basically what the stickiness is it's actually the oils from your thumb. So when you're using the controller, the oils come off your thumb and kind of get embedded in the pores of the rubber. Now when you're using it often, that's not a big deal. It keeps all those oils down in the pores of the rubber. But when the controller sits for a long time, and any PlayStation owner will attest to this one, basically what happens is the oil starts to seep back up through the pores, and then it gets kind of rancid on the top, so then it makes it kind of sticky and disgusting. So the best way to clean this is actually just take a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, spray it on, and you just rub it, and it takes all that oil and gunk right off. So if you ever have sticky thumbsticks on a PlayStation controller, PS2 or PS3, or even the PS1 also, they all kind of have the issue because they use the exact same thumbsticks. Yeah, just spray it with some rubbing alcohol. And, I mean, it's still a little sticky, but that's because it's wet, but takes care of it. You might have to put a couple applications on. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I've never had an issue with the stickiness coming back. And we can just kind of plop these on. Not sticky anymore. Took a couple, like 2 cleanings to do it. We can put the rubber contact pads back on for the triggers. So this longer one goes on the bottom. One that sticks out further. Make sure it's seated. Good. We'll just set that aside for now. Next, we got to put the triggers back together. So the spring goes, if you're looking at it from the back, it goes on the left side like so. You just slide it in. Hey, get in there. There we go. Bye. Yeah, it goes the other way. No, I have this all backwards. Oops. Yeah, that seems more right. So there is something I wanted to point out to kind of for anybody fixing these to kind of keep in mind, especially if they're changing out the contact pads. Now this is the donor controller, or at least what's left of it, and this is the contact pad for the start, select, and the PlayStation button. But when I was kind of double checking to make sure everything was exactly the same, I kind of ran into something here. So if you flip these over, I don't know how well this is going to come up on camera, but the underside of these contact pads is different. Now if you look at the start, select, and PlayStation buttons on the one we're putting back in, you can see that we got 2 circles here for the PlayStation button, and then 2 contacts here for the start and the select. and that corresponds to the rubber pieces underneath, the contact points underneath, which match up to these. So when we look at the donor, you got one big one, and 3 kind of connected here. But what that corresponds to here is you only have 1 for the start, 1 for the select, and then 1 for the PlayStation. So if I was to take the other contact pad and put it on here, it probably will not work. So I can't use this, so I'll just have to reuse the original one, which honestly is quite alright. I'm not too worried about it. It actually felt fine. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that. And so we can start sliding things back in. Oh, I put the wrong ones in. I'm an idiot. I put the wrong contact pads in. Alright, let me switch those and then we'll flip this back over. Yep, there we go. You tilt R1 and L1 forward and just kind of wiggle it in. Then just check, make sure it clicks. This is clicking, so that should be good to go. Alright, feels good. Cool. We got one more thing to do. Let's put the reset button back in on the bottom here. Alright, so it goes in like that. Pointed side is up and towards the bottom. Just slide it in. Alright, so that's all that's left to do is put in the battery. I got like a 2-pack because I have another controller I need to work on Amazon. It cost me like 14 bucks. Honestly, like I said before, given the age of these controllers, if you have it open at this point in 2022, honestly, it's probably just the best bet just to replace it. I have a aftermarket one in both my other controllers too, and honestly, they work great. So, I mean, not much to it. Ah, damn it. Stay. This is where it gets precarious, because the battery slides all over. You gotta be mindful of the triggers, because you can pop them off. And we're in business. Alright, let's just, before we screw this back together, give everything a go. Okay. Okay, so it seems the controller's working in the menus, but the real test is playing a game. So I popped in Modern Warfare 2, and let's see how it works. All right, stick's working. All right, L1 and R1 work.
Additional ground support is en route to your position, but has encountered heavy resistance. Over.
Roger that, Overlord. Be advised, we have encountered enemy armor and are proceeding on foot. Over.
Overlord copies all.
Yeah, everything seems to be working as it should. Play through a little more and give it a little more stress.
Did HQ just...
So yeah, everything seems to be working just as it should. All right, cool. Let's head back to the bench. Oh man, I am so happy with how this thing turned out. Man, this looked like a completely different controller from the start of the video to now. I mean, that's why it's always nice to have spares lying around. So yeah, like I said, this will be an excellent addition to my collection. So that'll about wrap it up for this video. So thank you so much for coming along with me on this. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember, fix it, don't ditch it. Have a good one.